Then check this out. Ready now?
Hello and welcome. Today we'll be doing an analysis breakdown for Mekk-Knights. I'm now realizing that I'm reading the script, it says Meek-Knights, so we'll be talking about those guys instead. We'll be going over the card by card, Mekk-Knight's identity and combos, a deck profile, Mekk-Knight's strength, and maybe something you're willing to watch. Mekk-Knights are a series of high-level, light psychic monsters who rely on columns to be able to special summon themselves as well as lock down said columns. They are primarily a control deck, however they perform best going second due to their reliance on columns. For those not aware of columns, I made this illustration for you. Mekk-Knights have always been a solid deck, and the primary reason why you'll see most Yu-Gi-Oh players spread out their cards as to not give Mekk-Knights columns to work with. Before we go over the card by card, we have to ensure that we have to cover the most important part. We have to ensure we're both on the same page here. That's right, I'm talking about the lore, baby. We have Avram, Mekk-Knight Avram here.
Then check this out. Ready now?
Check this out. It's Mekk-Knight Avram. Nothing worth talking about here. It's a normal monster that you don't really care about. The only reason you would play this nowadays is just so you can say, check this out, which is a valid enough reason. Now we can go over some actual Mekk-Knights. The first card we have is Mekk-Knight Orange Sunset. This card's a pile of trash. This thing is dog water bad. Some more vulgar individuals may refer to it with more vulgar terms. However, before you judge it as such, let's cover its effects. The first effect is shared amongst most Mekk-Knights, that being if two or more cards are in the same column, you can special summon this card from your hand in that column. You can only special summon said Mekk-Knight once per turn in this manner. The issue is with the second effect. If an opponent's card in this card's column is destroyed by battle or leaves the field, you can special summon one Mekk-Knight from your hand. This card acts as a crutch. I've never had any issue summoning Mekk-Knights after I managed to summon one, but even if you struggle to summon Mekk-Knights, resolving this card's effect is impossible. Not only does this thing only have 800 attack, but none of the Mekk-Knights can target opponent's cards that are outside of their columns. So you have to summon another Mekk-Knight to run over a monster that's in front of Orange, you special summon from the hand, but if you manage to summon two Mekk-Knights, then you can do the standard combo line. The other way to activate this is to summon Orange and then Raigeki or whatever, so you can special summon from the hand. However, check this out. You can replace Orange in these niche situations with Avram and it will perform just as well. Special summon whatever Mekk-Knight you're planning on summoning using Orange effect, and then just summon Avram. The only use I can see for this is if you can proc it during your opponent's turn or during an incredibly specific situation. Even if you can't consistently proc this card's effect during your opponent's turn or during your turn, this card is still completely outclassed by World Legacy Memories, as that allows you to special summon a Mekk-Knight from your hand or deck, which is infinitely better, and thus I cannot recommend that you run Orange Sunset ever. Warrock Skylar is a fairly decent Warrock monster, allowing you to storm the field. Unfortunately, we're talking about Warrock Green Horizon here, and this card is truly atrocious. I ran this card when I first started to learn the deck, and I don't think I've ever managed to resolve the effect. Let us go over these effects. The first effect is shared amongst most Mekk-Knights. You can refer back to Orange. The second effect reads as follows. When attack is declared involving this card and an opponent's card in this card's column, you can target one Mekk-Knight in your graveyard, add it to your hand. The effect on paper doesn't sound so bad. It's not once per turn. The issue is Mekk-Knights enjoy having their monsters in the graveyard, and this card only recovers monsters in the graveyard. Another issue is that this card's stats are too low. Only having 100 more attack than Avram makes it hard to find targets to beat over. And while we do have battle protection in the form of Morningstar, it's only against monsters in different colors, meaning that green won't activate its effect. Even with the card like World Legacy Whispers, which gives a monster 1,000 attack, allowing us to beat over Blue Eyes, it's a trap card that lasts only until the end of the turn and it's best used during your opponent's turn, which defeats the use of the recovery card as it's best used during your turn to make the use of the card recovered. With that being said, it's still difficult to recover cards because it requires your opponent to have a monster inside of Green's column and then battle Green with said monster. Basically, I wouldn't recommend running any more than one. Now we'll go over some actual good cards. Gearshu the Orcus Mekk-Knight is an amazing card. Unfortunately, he's limited in the OCG, which means if you're playing Master Duel, you're going to have to hold that L. He is, however, unlimited in TCG, which is great. If you play with Link Cross Legal, you might be familiar with this card. Gearshu has two effects. The first effect is if this card is no more special summon, you can send one Orcus or World Legacy card from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if there are two or more cards in this card's column, treat this card as a tuner. The last half of the effect is irrelevant, as Mekk-Knights have those synchro monsters. The second half is if you control no other monsters, you can special summon one World Legacy token to both players' field in defense position. You can only use each effect of Gearshu the Orcus Mekk-Knight once per turn. Gearshu is a one-card playmaker, and it's the only reason why going first with Mekk-Knights is viable. Mekk-Knights struggle going first as they need columns to be set up or to special summon themselves, and summoning a token to your opponent's field helps with columns. Gear Suit also gives you access to Liv, the World Blade Keymaster, which requires you to have a World Legacy card in your graveyard. And Liv not only gives you a non-targeting shuffle back in your deck, but also sets up columns while setting a crucial piece of Mekk-Knight's identity in their form of their World Legacy spell or trap. Such traps as World Legacy Whispers, a crucial piece in Mekk-Knight Green Horizon Beatdown.
That was satire. World Legacy Whispers has no place in Mekk-Knight Green Horizon Beatdown.
Our next two cards are being quite simple, starting with Mekk-Knight Yellow Star. The first effect is the usual special summon. The second effect is that you can banish one Mekk-Knight monster from your graveyard, then target one spell or trap in this card's column and destroy it. It's quite the simple card. The only thing worth noting is that it's not once per turn, nor is it limited to your opponent's card. Thus, you can do some weird Metaphor shenanigans where you set a Metaphor's counter and then pop it using yellow. I don't know why you would do this, I'm just proposing the idea. Most deck either run one or no yellow. I've been looking at Mekk-Knight Red Moon for about 5 minutes, and it's not a coincidence that it's our next card we're reviewing. I can't find where its head is located. I can't tell if it's that weird circle thing or if it's that shredder mask beneath the circle thing. Red Moon also has some weird horse legs going on. I can't tell you what's going on in the card art. However, I can tell you about the card itself. Red Moon has two effects. The first effect is the usual special summon. The second effect is that you can banish one Mekk-Knight monster from your graveyard, then target one face-up monster in this card's column to destroy it. Just like with Yellow, this effect is not once per turn, nor is it limited to your opponent's card. So if your opponent has two monsters lined up in one column, you can use Red Moon to pop both those cards. Just make sure you pay attention to those cards' protection effects, because if none of them can be targeted, you will have to end up popping red, as you already paid the cost and have to pop a card, and red is not immune to its own effect. The next three Mekk-Knights will mark the end of the main deck monster lineup. However, these three are the most important members of the deck, and are often ran as an engine/package in other decks. First card on the list is Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. You can special summon it from the hand as per usual. The second effect is a quick effect that allows you to target one Mekk-Knight monster you control, banish it until the standby phase of your next turn, and if you do, add one Mekk-Knight monster from your deck to your hand, except Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall. Mekk-Knight Purple Nightfall is a great card, allowing you to clear out a column that has Mekk-Knights and then search out any Mekk-Knight monster to replace it with. Oftentimes you're banishing itself, which allows you to have great play for the following turn, as it will come back during the following turn. And while its effect is a hard once per turn, it's a quick effect, meaning you can activate it during your opponent's turn. And with cards like World Legacy Memory, summoning it from during your opponent's turn is pretty easy. All around, a great card for searching out those playmakers. Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. This is the star of a Mekk-Knight deck. This one card allows you to go +3. It's insane. Let's go over these effects. The first effect is the usual special summon. The second effect is the one we're looking for. If this card is no more special summon from the hand, you can add Mekk-Knight monsters with different names, except Mekk-Knight Blue Sky, from your deck to your hand, equal to the number of cards your opponent controls in this card's column. You can only use the effect of Mekk-Knight Blue Sky once per turn. While it's possible to go +3 with this effect, realistically you're only going +1 or +2. Some noteworthy details is that this card only activates if it's special summon from the hand, and you get to add cards equal to your opponent's card in this card's column, meaning that if you don't have enough Mekk-Knights, you don't get the search. If you banish blue with purple's effect, blue's effect fizzles out as there's no longer any cards in this card's column. And I would assume the similar effects happen if your opponent removes blue or removes their own card, in some cases like Unchained, or by synchroing out the column with Halki Vibrax. It hasn't happened to me yet, but it is something worth noting. Mekk-Knight Indigo Eclipse. This hula hoop user is the most important Mekk-Knight, a crucial and integral part of Mekk-Knight's identity. I stated him last for a reason. His first effect is the usual special summoning. However, his second effect, this is the big one. Once per turn, you can target, as a quick effect, mind you, you can target one Mekk-Knight monster you control, move that target to another main monster zone. Whoa! I'll give you a showcase, just a little taste, a little droplet of this power, this potential energy that you can wield by playing Mekk-Knights. Check this out, you have an Avram and Indigo on two ends of the board, but your opponent activates a Lightning Storm. It's over, for sure. There's no way to get your Avram and Indigo together. There's just too many empty monster spaces in between Avram and Indigo. Science has proven it's just not possible. But check this out, using the effect of Indigo, you can target your Avram and then move him. And you're not limited to just adjacent monster spaces. You can move your Avram not just 2 spaces, you can move your Avram 3 spaces, uniting your Avram and Indigo. Absolutely ludicrous. Then Lightning Storm effects resolves, destroying Avram and Indigo, but check this out. Both of them are dead together in the grave. This is the type of heart-wrenching tale that Shakespeare can never fathom. Only be able to see such visages within his dreams, but never be able to coalesce them into words. Nevertheless, a play. This is what it means to be a Mekk-Knight player. Let's cover the spells and traps now. World Legacy Key, Whispers, and Secrets are continuous spells and traps with two effects, one on activation and one that locks down a card type. The activation effects in order are returning a banished Mekk-Knight or World Legacy monster to the hand, giving a level 5 or higher 1000 attack and defense until the end phase, and finally summoning level 5 or higher from the graveyard. The lockdown effects read as follows: negate any opponent's of a card type, effect that activates in the same column as a Mekk-Knight you control. Key negates traps, Whisper negates spells, and finally Secrets negates monster. This leaves Secrets to be the most desirable as it has the best activation effect and the best negate of the card type. These cards are what allow Mekk-Knights to excel and gives them their identity as a control deck. A card like Mekk-Knight Indigo goes from an alien infiltrator into an infinite permanence with these effects. A set World Legacy Secret and an Indigo in Gray leads to 2 Monster Gate. By chaining Secret to an effect, you can special summon Indigo into that monster's column and thus negate it, and then use Indigo's effect to move him into another column when a monster activates its effect to negate that one as well. World Legacy Memories is a quick play spell card that allows you to special summon a Mekk-Knight from your hand or deck, but then it locks you into Mekk-Knights for the remainder of that turn, and that card is returned to your hand during the end phase. This card is great. It's an extender, it can be negated during your opponent's turn. Summoning from the deck is always strong. The only thing that sucks about this card is that it locks you into Mekk-Knights, meaning that you can't summon tokens using Gearsu's effect, nor can you summon Lib. As mentioned earlier, you can summon purple during your opponent's turn with memories, and then use purples during the end phase to get a free search, as purple will return during your turn. The last spell we'll review is World Legacy Scars. This is a field spell that grants Mekk-Knights 300 attack defense, allows you to cycle your Mekk-Knights, and by banishing 8 different Mekk-Knights you can send your opponent's hand and extra deck to the graveyard. I'm not going to go too into details on why this card sucks, as it seems this video might be too long, but basically the attack boost is irrelevant, as is the cycling part, and the cost of banishing 8 different Mekk-Knights it just drains you of all your resources. It completely sucks you dry. Alright, it's time to get into the extra deck. Woo! Mekk-Knights have 3 extra deck monsters. 2 of them suck, 1 of them is really good, so we'll start with him. Mekk-Knight of the Morning Stars, Link 2, pointing bottom left, bottom right, and can be link summoned using 2 monsters including a Mekk-Knight. When link summoned, you can discard a World Legacy or Mekk-Knight card to add a World Legacy card to your hand. Its second effect grants protection to Mekk-Knight battling monsters outside of their columns by preventing destruction and battle damage. This card does it all. It gets you a World Legacy spell and traps such as World Legacy Secret, and sends monsters to the graveyard by discarding the least useful Mekk-Knight so you can bring it back with Secret. It sets up columns perfectly, but it also places your opponent in a rough spot by forcing them to summon monsters in the column with a Mekk-Knight if they want to be able to battle said Mekk-Knight. However, special summoning a monster into, or well, I guess just summoning a monster into such a column would mean being unable to activate their effects. And what's very nice is that it's only a Link 2, making it quite easy to bring out, and it's very generic material. Just 1 monster and 1 Mekk-Knight. Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme is a Link 3 that requires 2+ Mekk-Knights and points bottom right, bottom left, and directly down, so good arrows, trash material. It has the following effect: this card can attack directly if it is the only card in the column. If this card in the extra monster zone points to no monster, it cannot be destroyed. A card effect. Also, your opponent cannot target a card effect. You can send one other card you control to this card in this card's column to the graveyard, special summon 1 Mekk-Knight monster from your deck in defense position. You can only use this effect, the Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme, once per turn. Mekk-Knight Spectrum demands a lot, provides nothing. This card is more helpful against slower decks, such as other control decks, due to being able to attack directly while having decent protection, and being able to convert any cards into Mekk-Knight with its effect is nice, I guess. It's nice to have, so that's all a positive. The fact that it needs 2+ Mekk-Knights means you can't link off Lib for this. The big issue is that it goes against the Mekk-Knight game plan, that being able to swarm the field and lock your opponent out with your powerful spell and traps. This card eats a bunch of your cards and then does nothing but sits there on its 3000 attack booty. Mekk-Knight Crusader Avermax is a Link 4 that requires 2+ monsters from the extra deck, and its arrows are all over the place. It's basically a beat stick. It has an honest-alike effect and provides some protection by forcing monsters to battle Avermax, and it's immune to targeting. That's it. It counters the same issue as Spectrum, eats a lot of cards, and then sits there. However, that being said, this card is helpful as a beat stick. You don't have to eat up a lot of your Mekk-Knights to summon it. Lib plus Morningstar does it. Mekk-Knights struggle to get over high attack monsters such as Geomath Mech, Final Sigma, and Avermax is a great answer to that. Once again, just like Spectrum, outside of those niche situations, this card does nothing but sit there. Now that we cover all the cards, we can get into something that's interesting and fun, that being the decks. But before we get into the deck that I use, I want to go over what a Mekk-Knight engine/package looks like, and then cover what a core of a Mekk-Knight deck looks like. A standard Mekk-Knight engine consists of 2 to 3 blue skies, 3 purple, and 1 indigo. The question is, what benefits does this package provide? And the answer is it's free material / board presence. You're able to summon purple to get a blue, and then summon blue to get a purple and or indigo. Another variation you can run on this package is by cutting the indigo in favor of a gear suit, adding a World Legacy World Arm, a World Legacy Succession, a Lib, and finally one of whatever World Legacy card you want. I have an example of this engine with a Crusadia. The idea is that a Gear Suit is a 1-card combo that leads to Equimax plus World Crown, and you can search for Gear Suit with purple and blue. The basic skeleton of a Mekk-Knight deck looks like the following. As you may notice, it doesn't require too many cards, and that brings me to one of Mekk-Knight's biggest strengths, that being how malleable they are. Mekk-Knights are incredibly flexible, as only memories logs you into Mekk-Knights, and they don't need a normal summon outside of Gear Suit. This allows you to create a deck that is suitable for whatever environment / meta you find yourself in. However, that being said, they are restricted to only having one non-Mekk-Knight monster on the end board, and it has to be under Morningstar or it has to replace Morningstar in the extra monster zone. Otherwise, there's a clear blind spot where your opponent can play cards without fears or being interrupted. Another one of Mekk-Knight's strengths is the fact that they don't have a limit to how many times they can negate. World Legacy Secret, World Legacy Whispers, and World Legacy Key can negate technically infinite amount of cards. The biggest issue with Mekk-Knights is that they're limited into what they can negate. They don't have a way to negate any hand traps, they don't have a way to negate any field spells, they don't have a way to negate any graveyard or banish effects. They cannot negate continuous effects. So here's the deck I used to get at Plat. I'm running a World Legacy World Chalice as my choice for Gear Suit's effect, as you can banish it the turn after you send it to the graveyard to search out a World Legacy card that will fit the situation. For example, versus Eldritch, you can search out a World Legacy Key to negate the traps. However, you can run whatever World Legacy monsters you want, but World Legacy World Chalice is generally the most popular choice for Mekk-Knights. Kaijus are the best support cards for Mekk-Knight. They allow you to remove an opponent's monster while being able to set up columns. I'm running 2 Godarlas for 2 reasons: to get over Barry's Statue to Win, which was more popular when I first made the deck, but also because Gameciel is a CR and I don't have that. I'm running 1 Santa Claus because he's searchable by Sangan effect. Sangan is here because you can normal summon him and then link him off for Almirage, so you can get a Ghost Girl or Santa Claus depending if you're going first or second. I've been considering cutting the Sangan package, the Sangans plus the Santa Claus, in favor of something like a Thunder King YuGiOh or Nemesis Corridor plus Thunder Dragon Colossus. I've also been looking to replace Monster Reborn, and at some point I want to experiment with Lord of the Heavenly Prison, because you're always going to set a trap in the form of World Legacy Secrets, Memories, or, well, just Secrets or Memory. I'm running Dark Ruler no more over Forbidden Droplet because I don't like the inherent minus that comes with Forbidden, and the drawback from Dark Ruler is irrelevant. Normal spells are super nice, as you can set them to help with columns and then activate them once you summon the Mekk-Knight, and that's why we're running Gust Cyclone over MST, as well as a copy of Feather Duster. Most of the extra deck doesn't really matter. We're running 1 Secure Gardener, so you can link off Lib for, well, Secure Gardener. We're running 1 Link Spider, just in case you get an Euro token, you might be able to still play. And we're running 2 Nightmares because very generic support, and 1 Almirage, so you can use the Sangan. Pot of Prosperity is a huge help for this deck. Being able to search out those key playmakers like Blue Sky or Gear Suit can't be overstated, and it's a normal spell, so you can set it and then activate it. I'm running a copy of Whispers and a Key because I think the spell negate from Whispers is too good to pass up, and the trap negate from Key is super helpful versus decks like Eldritch or some random jank like Time Lords. Only 1 copy of Call By because it's a UR, Maxi hurts this deck a lot, as well as Nibiru. I would love to run Cross Out, but that's also a UR. Lightning Storm is one of those cards I've been wanting to cut, but back row is such a huge pain. I keep the Lightning Storm, but it's definitely a card on the chopping block. I really like the 2 Indigo and the World Legacy Secrets, just in case one of them gets banished or I lose access to one of them. I still have a backup one. The only other card worth noting is the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which I never summon, but I keep around just in case of Super Boss monsters or Crooked Cook decks. The other cards are just hand traps to stop my opponent from popping off. However, I do think Infinite Permanence has some good synergy with this deck, as it's unlikely your opponent is going to activate a spell in a column with the Mekk-Knight, thus you're more likely to negate the spell with Infinite Permanence. Hello and welcome to today's public execution. Here we have Dark Magician, and we're showcasing combos. So unfortunately, this isn't a great hand, but we did draw the Sangan, and this is primarily why you run Sangan. So we can link off Sangan for Almirage, and then search out either a Ghost Girl or a Santa Claus, depending on what we want. We want a Ghost Girl here. Ash is usually the best Ghost Girl, as she's the most generic. So one very nice thing is that since Almirage is in the extra monster zone, we can put a trap or spell here, and thus we can summon Indigo here. Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate the combo. So I made a mistake, and I get so embarrassed by it that I surrender, I scoop it up. I searched out Gearsu using Purple Nightfall's effect, and I realized I can't normal summon Gearsu, so I scoop it up. It's not even that bad of a mistake or anything. Ideally, I think Blue Nightfall or Blue Sky is probably the best search target, but it doesn't matter what you search out, honestly. What you're gonna do is you're gonna link summon using You're gonna link summon your Indigo and your Almirage for a Morningstar. You're gonna use Morningstar's effect to ditch out whatever you search off using Purple Nightfall. In this case, it will be Gearsu, to then get a World Legacy Secret or World Legacy Whispers. Searching out Whispers is better in this situation, as you already have a World Legacy Secret on the board, and being able to do 2 Call by the Graves, or not Call by the Graves, Call of the Haunted isn't as good. The Secret provides too much utility to pass up. Being able to negate your opponent's spells like Twin Twisters or Raigeki is just too helpful. Also, whatever archetype your opponent's playing, being able to negate their spells is pretty helpful as well. For example, against something like, let's just say Mutants, being able to negate Mutant Fusion is pretty nice. I can't think of the Speedroid lottery machine spell card roulette thing majigger. Alright, take 2 on the public execution. Alright, so this is what you should get used to as Mekk-Knights. And this is the classic Mekk-Knight opening. Pass. You could probably set the infinite permanence, but I didn't want to. What are we looking to negate? I don't know. That thing, I guess. I don't know Dark Magician very well. I don't think I carried enough to learn it. Alright, so one nice thing about Mekk-Knights is that if you play against the AI, it's the perfect counter, since the AI doesn't care about columns at all, and they don't play around Mekk-Knights. However, that being said, I still will Galaxy Cyclone, this back row, to prove a point. That's it. I think we set key for time being. I think we're really going to use it. However, we'll do the standard combo line. So you banish purple, you then search out Gearsu, or you get blue. But I want to showcase this. Send this. Activate Gearsu's effect. Summon 2 tokens. You want to make sure you place them towards the extra monster zone if you can. Then you can summon a live. Yes. We can't activate memories because it's a quick play spell and we just set it. So we'll get a secret here. We can summon red here. Activate red's effect. Banish the Gearsu. Although that's not the best choice. We could do, you could activate World Legacy World Key. Or World Legacy Key to get the Gearsu back. Then we can summon in Morningstar here. And because Liv was linked off, well, first off, we can use Morningstar's effect, discarding the Gearsu. We then use Liv's effect to send back the Magician's Rod. And the reason why we wanted to link off was because also we get World Legacy Memories. That's pretty huge. The main reason why we wanted to link off Liv for Morningstar was that just so we could send Red Moon to the graveyard. So that way when we activate World Legacy Secrets, we could summon Red Moon into a column with a monster, and then have it be negated thanks to Secrets. Alright, so this hand sucks. However, this hand could easily turn around with one good Product Prosperity. Please. Oh, Gearsu! The savior! Alright. Now this hand went from bad to being pretty good. Activate Gearsu's effect. Then a World Legacy World Chalice. Activate Gearsu's effect. Summon 2 tokens. So, assuming that that first effect got Ash, you would just summon into 2 tokens, and then you will continue to play. You just want to make live like I'm about to make right now. So, let's imagine that we got Ash here, and we don't have access to live. What we would do in this situation is that we would make Morningstar. I should have summoned him here. That's fine. We could dump the blue sky. No. Yeah, we can dump the blue sky. Get a secret. So one problem I have is that I deleted most of my replays, and thus I'm restricted to only a few good replays, and I don't think these replays are that great. But we will show you what happens if your opponent does not have any negates. Which is kind of disappointing because I kind of want to show replays where there's negates involved. So our opponent's going to open with a pendulum call. This is going to allow them to get 2 pendulums. And more importantly, however, is that these pendulum monsters can't be destroyed, as we're about to learn pretty soon. Monsters in your magician cards in your pendulum zone cannot be destroyed with card effects, and that's very important. So opponent's going to make some Blackwing cards that I've never seen before. I don't even know what this thing does. He's going to try to destroy his scales, but he can't destroy his scales because of pendulum call. He's going to keep trying to destroy his scales. He's going to keep trying. And he's going to summon Perform Pow Odd Eyes. I don't even know what this thing does. That thing's insane. So we're going to open off with the MST because this is before I started to include Conjure Cyclone. We're going to summon 2 tokens using Gearsu's effect. We're going to then summon a Purple Nightfall here. We're going to bin a Warlegs World Chalice using Gearsu. We're going to get a Blue Sky so we can search 2 by summoning Blue Sky in the rightmost column. Since he has 2 cards here, thanks to the token. We're going to get an Indigo, and we're going to get a Red Moon. The plan is to pop all these cards using Red Moon. We're going to send, I don't know why I sent Blue Sky there. This was made a while back. We're going to make a Live using our token plus Gearsu. We're going to set a World Secret and set up another column. We're going to use Live to link off into Mekk-Knight Morningstar. We're going to send Red Moon out of here. I don't know why I'm here at Red Moon. Probably because he's the worst one here in this situation. I don't really think he's that bad here. We're then going to summon Yellow Sky in the rightmost column. We're going to try to pop this back row and then realize I can't pop it. So I'm going to send Yellow Sky or Yellow Star all the way to the left side and try to pop that back row. I can't pop that back row either. And then I'm just going to beat him over the head. So we have all 3 negates on the board. We have a spell. We have the spell negates. We have the monster negate. Actually, we don't have the trap negate. We're missing the key. I didn't negate the destruction effect because I didn't realize he could destroy his cards. But however, I am negating this aspect. I don't want him to destroy this card. So he's gonna Pendulum Summon. And he's gonna link off. Or he's gonna XYZ summon a Time Star Magician. And then I'm going to reveal that I have more Legacy Secrets right there. I also have my Indigo standing in the extra monster column. You probably don't want to have your Indigo standing in the extra monster column just so you can move them around later. But whatever. It doesn't really matter since Indigo can target any of your Mekk-Knights. He's going to try to kill our Morningstar, but Morningstar is going to keep himself safe using his protection effect. I'm then going to banish Indigo, search out Blue Sky here during the end phase. And then during the standby phase, I'm going to get my Indigo back. And then I'm going to summon a Blue Sky. I'm also going to get another Blue Sky during my standby phase since I banished Blue Sky earlier. So I'm going to get 2 using Blue Sky's effect. I'm then going to activate a World Legacy Rogue Key. So I have all 3 negates on the field. I'm then just going to cycle between some cards here real quick. And then I'm going to set a Red Moon. I'm going to use Red Moon's effect twice. Popping. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to use Red Moon's effect at all. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe these cards to be targeting. I couldn't tell you. Anyways, the point is we got into the game. And that's where I'm concluding the video. I didn't showcase very much in terms of the combos. Well, that's not true. I showcased a lot of the openings. I didn't showcase what happened past the opening very often. That's because the video will be too long otherwise. I didn't show very many replays outside the one because once more the video will be too long otherwise. And that's about it. Thank you for watching and etc. etc. Like, comment, subscribe.